Hello there, welcome to another episode of Matt's Chats. This is a series of short videos where we sit and talk to people in and around the whisky industry to try and give you a bit more insight into the goings on of what happens. And I'm delighted to be here today with Malcolm Waring, the Distillery Manager of Old Pulteney, so way up north there in Wick.
Yeah, very top.
And we're here for the launch of a new expression of Old Pulteney actually, but we'll talk a bit more about that a little bit later. But thank you, Malcolm, thank you for
thank you very much
your time. And we're here in the fabulous surroundings of Berry Brothers and Rudd as well in central London, you know, the famous old wine and spirits merchant. So before we talk about the release, Malcolm, could you just, for those people that maybe aren't familiar with Old Pulteney, firstly what's wrong with them, but secondly,
you're missing out on something.
Yeah, can you just really explain what Old Pulteney is about and kind of where it is and so on?
Yeah, we're situated, as you mentioned, we're on the east coast of Scotland, right at the very north. John O'Groats is, you fall off the mainland, so we're about 15 miles south of that. So we're a small fishing village of about 8,000 people. It was very big many years ago in the herring fishing. It was the busiest herring port in Europe. That was really started in the 1700s and carried right on through until the kind of like mid-1920s. The distillery started in 1826, so the distillery really grew, you know, part and parcel with the maritime industry. Yeah, without very much, you know, a lot of these in those days, a lot of distilleries, as was Pulteney, it was seasonal work. So a lot of the guys that were employed in the winter time and they were distilling and fishing in the summertime. So, you know, our whole background comes from the maritime. You know, we're right on the coast. It has such an influence and it has a big part to play in the whiskies that I make.
Yeah, I've been there myself some years ago, admittedly, but it literally is just right up from the harbour.
Well, I look out my office window and I look at the harbour.
Yeah.
My warehouses sit on the top of a cliff. You know, we have, you know, in abundance in Wick, in the north, we've got a lot of wind and a lot of rain. It's key elements for making whiskey. You know, the warehouses that breathe. You know, they're vented. They're taking that atmosphere. They're taking it in.
And from what I remember, Old Pulteney is quite a sort of old-fashioned distillery.
Very much, and I like it like that. It's, you know, you distill with your senses.
Yeah.
You know, you don't distill with a machine. You need stills, but you need your sight, your sound, your smell, your taste. It's all about the senses, and it's all about the environment. You know, we're taking the spirit out of the environment, so we have to be kind to that, and we have to work with it as well. Traditional distillery, you know, it's all hands-on. Everything's done by hand. All the cuts and stills are all done by hand. There's nothing controls any of that.
Yeah. And you've been distillery manager for
I started in the industry.
Time,
I started in the industry 34 years ago. So I'm kind of shop trained, so to speak. You know, I started on the shop floor. I was you know, on stills, mashing, warehousing, brewing, and then
at Pulteney.
At Pulteney, yeah.
Right.
And then I was assistant manager, and then I spent 6 years of my 34-year career working down at Knockdew Distillery. And came back to Pulteney in 2006 as manager, so it's home.
Yeah.
It's home.
Yeah. And we're obviously here today because the release of the Old Pulteney Port, which is the second in the Coastal series, second expression in the Coastal series. So what can you sort of tell us about this?
Well, the Coastal series has been work in progress for quite a number of years, and we released the first one this time last year, the Pinot de Chiron, the port this year, and there's two more to come. You know, the whole ethos behind it is all about the synergy of different producers of different drinks on the coast and how it marries and matches
Just
up.
kind of knits together, yeah.
And it's all about the synergy of that. So this is from the north. It sits on the coast. I've started off the whiskies in second fill American oak, right. So it puts the DNA into it. It puts the boldness, the beefiness, the heavier alcohol into that. So it's very layered whiskey. It's 3 layers to this whiskey. So that you've got the Pulteney side coming in on that. I've filled 2 different types of casks. Okay, I've filled barriques and pipes. Okay, in Dunwich warehouse as well. So the barriques, smaller casks, 230 litres, 225.
So these have had port in them.
Yes,
before from the Douro Valley.
Yeah, Ruby Port. Yeah. So you've got the fruits, the cherries, that, you know, that the port kind of lends to the whiskey as well, and that's coming from the brick, the freshness, the style of it. You've got the cherry. You know, I get a lot of the kind of stony pulpy fruit to it as well. So there's a layer in there, and then the pipes having a slower maturation. It brings in dark chocolate, salty dark chocolate.
They're much bigger, aren't they?
Yeah,
the
bigger,
pipes
so,
are massive.
Yes, they're about 500 litres. Some of them over 500 litres. So you've got, you've got the cherry, you've got salted caramel, salted chocolate, caramel. It's all lends itself.
God, it sounds delicious.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it.
Whiskey. But it's a complex whiskey, and it's multi-layered. And that's what I really love about the port expression, is that it's its complexity and its layerness to it.
And how do you feel, because Old Pulteney is often described as a maritime coastal malt, which sort of has that little sort of salty tang to it, sort of minerality.
Yeah.
So how do you think that sits with those sort of heavier port characters, would you say?
Well, some of the ports I get too, you're going to get that minerality too, and it kind of complements each other. You know, that's the synergy with it as well, and how that matches up.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, when I visited Old Pulteney all those years ago, I didn't quite believe the sort of maritime coastal saltiness thing until we stood in the warehouse with you, and you can actually taste taste the salt on your tongue.
You walk around any part of Wigton just on the outside of it, the outskirts, and you get it on the lips.
Yeah.
You know, the sea spray comes in, and it really has an influence.
Yeah.
It has to.
Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what the other two in the coastal series are. But this is 46%.
46%.
It's non-chill filtered as well.
Naturally coloured as well.
Yeah, and about £75, I think it says as well. So
yeah,
I'm very much looking forward to trying it in a few moments' time once we get out of
here.
here.
Forward to that.
Yeah. But great, thanks very much, Malcolm.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.